You're listening to Juicy Radio. My name's Tony Bacigalupo. I'm your host here, and I'm so excited. In this episode, we have Jenny Poon from CO-HOOTS in Arizona and Iris Kavanagh coming back to us again. You've heard her in a previous episode, and this time the two of them are working on the Coworky Awards. The Coworky Awards is, I believe, the first award event for the co-working movement that we've had yet. So head to coworkyawards.com. That's COWORKY awards.com. And you'll be able to learn more information there. You'll be able to nominate people for the various awards. And in this episode, we're going to be hearing from Jenny and Iris a little bit about how the co-working awards work, what kind of went into it for them, the motivation behind it, and a little bit of a story from Jenny about her experience with CO-HOOTS, why it's important that co-working spaces pursue sort of deeper meaning in what it is that they do, and all that and more in this Juicy Radio episode 10. Jenny and Iris, thanks so much for taking the time to join us here on Juicy Radio. I'm really excited for the Coworky Awards. I feel like this is something that somebody's been needing to do in the co-working world for a long time, but you two finally went and made it happen. Can you tell us a little bit about how this came about, how the two of you ended up deciding that now is the time to do it, and what you're hoping to get out of the experience?
Yes, Tony, this is Iris, and thank you for having me here today with you and Jenny. And so originally CoShare, the CoShare side of the Coworkies kind of came out of a desire for CoShare to create an impactful event that wasn't in competition with the other events that were happening out there. You know, Juicy does a great job of bringing people together for learning events, as does the GWA, and you know, we really wanted to bring people together, but we wanted to do so in a way that benefited and filled a need that wasn't already being filled. And so we thought an awards ceremony was a great way to do that. It will bring people to the party. And there currently wasn't an awards ceremony or isn't an awards ceremony. And we were really looking forward to highlighting the spaces out there that are doing great things in their communities, but aren't necessarily recognized for that because they're not as sexy as sort of, you know, the giant co-working people that are out there that get a lot of press.
Great. And can you tell me, maybe Jenny, a little bit about how the awards are going to specifically be directed in such a way as to highlight the efforts of those smaller communities? What kinds of like, how are you shaping this award program to be something that really shows off those maybe less obvious, valuable stories that are being told in some of those more interesting little spaces?
Yeah, so I think an important differentiator between co-working spaces and like big guerrilla spaces is the unique identity of a specific space within and the impact they have within a community. And so one of the categories that I think helps with that is the social impact award. There's obviously several other categories. You can find those all online. But the uniqueness of co-working in general is that they align like a physical space with impact, right? And community building. And a lot of other spaces out there that aren't necessarily what I guess I would consider co-working are just about like the beauty of the space. And there is like a category for that, but a majority of the awards that we have are really about impact and highlighting those. And that's kind of a hard thing to judge on. And most of the awards out there, because like beautiful spaces is easy to have a clear-cut answer to, they don't really go too deep into the harder parts, the softer side of things, of judging a space, which is that impact. So I think for us, and at least from my perspective, I really align with supporting this camp or this award ceremony due to the fact that it's measuring not the size of a specific space, but the actual impact within a community that a co-working space can have. And, you can do a lot of huge impact in a very small amount of space. And it doesn't matter how pretty it is or how beautiful it is. And it really matters, like, your community that you're building.
We sure do like to look at pretty spaces, though, as co-working people.
And that is one of the categories. I don't want to discount that.
Okay.
I think that a big part of it is bringing out the ability of the small and mighty, right? And how they can accomplish so much and compete at the same level as these beautiful, well-funded spaces.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the actual awards, the categories. Are there lots of different kinds of categories? Can you kind of take us through some of them?
Do you want to take that one, Iris? The list.
Sure, we can tag team it. So the idea is that, as Jenny said, is that we really want to highlight the different aspects of co-working, which are, varied and vast. And so the categories that we came up with, we felt would represent, the impact that co-working has, and be representative of the space, but also of the people within the space. And so the awards themselves are Best Collective or Alliance. So the best co-working collective that's out there. And by best, of course, that's a very arbitrary term. So we really mean the one that has impacted you the most as the user who's choosing them. And then there is the Members' Choice Award. So the idea there is that members can choose to nominate their space, and, hopefully really energized and tight communities will get all of their members to vote that space up. And I feel that that's really a powerful one because at the end of the day, for me, at least at the end of the day, co-working is all about the members. And so I love the idea of members really getting involved in this process, which I think a lot of the things that we do as kind of co-working operators or co-working leaders, we don't, on a grand scale together nationally and internationally, we don't get to have our members present when we're having those kind of conversations as often as I think a lot of us would like. So I find the Members' Choice Award to be a really fun one. There's the Rainbow Unicorn Award, which is a hilarious name. And really that award is meant to be the one that is kind of anything goes. You choose who you think should be nominated to receive an award for something impactful that they've done, and it really doesn't matter what it is. So you get to name the thing that they've done and the person that it is, or the space that it is. Best tagline. So there's a lot of great taglines out there. We would love to hear who has the best one. And then the age-old question, I think the best technology to run your space, which is probably going to have a fair amount of pithy back and forth, considering there's a fair amount of vendors out there in co-working software. Jenny, do you want to take the last of them?
I'm sorry, I don't have a list in front of me.
Oh, no problem. I didn't need to put you on the spot. Great. And then the next is the best website design. So, co-working websites are vast, and they have many different design standards that they follow. I certainly know what I think makes a really good co-working space website, and we want to hear what you think makes a great co-working space website. Volunteer to the greater movement. This is probably, besides the Rainbow Unicorn Award and the Members' Choice Award, I think this is probably my favorite. And I'm really excited to see who the global community determines is, the volunteer who deserves the recognition this year for the work that they've done to the movement. This is the unsung hero or the unpaid hero of co-working, and there are many of them out there. And so I'm really looking forward to see who comes out of that. And maybe it'll be a fresh face that nobody's heard of, or not many of us have heard of. That would be fun.
Yeah.
best space design. Oh, sorry, Jenny, did you want to jump in there?
No, I love that. I love that idea of recognizing somebody that's in the background, right? Like co-working is all about communities and getting people engaged. And a lot of the time, those people they're not getting paid. They're usually members of space that just feel very strongly about the community they're in. And they give countless hours to support this moving forward without any intent of getting recognition or compensation. And so I think recognizing somebody for that is a huge gift for that person, and reminding them of how important that role is, making them a leader, right? Like that's an important value in a co-working space, is having those people that are beyond just looking for a financial benefit or something in return in general, right? They're doing this because they believe in the value of collaboration.
That sounds like a great one. I'd be very curious to see what kinds of nominations we get, and hope that we are able to recognize some really awesome people. So tell me a little bit about how the submission process works, how the voting process works, and what kind of prizes are in store. Are there any prizes for these folks?
Yeah, so I'll just mention the last two awards. So one of them is Best Space Design. I think that kind of goes for itself. And then the last is the one that Jenny was referring to earlier, which is the Best Social Impact Program. And the criteria for social impact program is that it actually does need to be within the co-working sector. And so that's a little bit, that niches it down just a little bit, I think, and makes it a little easier for the judging panel to determine. Prize-wise, Jenny, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So we're making trophies. I can't tell you the whole story. I can't give away what these prizes are going to actually, or the trophies are going to actually look like. And I believe we're going to give potentially other prizes with these, but there's special trophies being made, custom trophies that will be beautiful and amazing and over the top. And in true co-working fashion, they'll be special. They're not going to be designed, and it's not going to be the like glamorous 5-tier sports trophy. But it'll be compact enough that you could take it home with you after the Juicy Awards or shipped out. But I think it's going to be something that's in true form of what the Coworky Awards should be, which is this really unique final prize that you can showcase in your space.
That sounds real fun. I'm excited to see them. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
That was a lot of vague description, but I'm trying not to give it all away, Iris. Don't put me on the spot for that.
And then, of course, there will be free press, for the space. There will be, I think a fair amount of write-ups afterwards for those who are the award winners. And, Tony, one thing I'd like to say is that because this is our first year doing this, we don't know what we don't know yet. And so, we're going to learn a lot this year. And I participate where I live in some local award ceremonies that are just wonderfully done. And so we've sort of looked to the different award ceremonies we've all been involved in and taken what we felt were the best parts of those and the ones that applied to co-working. And, I know that we're going to learn a lot this year and, be able to sort of bring those awardees in to the process next year as well, which I'm excited about.
Super great. I agree. I think that the first time you do anything, obviously you're going to be, setting yourself up for future years. And I am really looking forward to, a few years down the line when we have Jimmy Kimmel hosting it and it's going to be, celebrities in attendance. It'll be very exciting to see where we go. Leading before we get to Jimmy, I'm curious. So how does it work? Just I'm picturing people listening to this now and like me, wanting to nominate somebody, wanting to see who I can vote for. How's the process going to work between now and Juicy in terms of all of that?
Yeah. So if you want to nominate your space or your favorite co-working volunteer or anybody, you can do so by going to coworkyawards.com. That's COWORKY awards.com. And there you can read the rules, look at our sponsors, and submit and vote. So the way you submit is obviously by clicking on the submit link. And then we just have some information we collect from you because we want to make sure that there's real people actually entering their nominations, and it's not a computer. We ask you to give us your name and some contact info for you, and then nominate your person or your space in that category. So you do so by listing their name out, the website, if that's applicable, and then there's a fairly large text field for you to tell us why you think this space or person deserves this award. You'll push send. This is a website that was custom built for us. It is a co-working effect website. Several different teams involved in bringing this website to life. And so we're still working through the actual voting science and process around this. So currently we're collecting the nominations, and we will begin voting at some point in the very near future, but I don't actually have that date yet for you.
Okay, awesome. So if you're listening to this, get over to that website and get your nominations in so that we can get the voting going.
Yep.
And then
go ahead, Jenny.
Okay, so a couple other rules to add to that. There's a judging panel. So there's a percentage, I believe it's 40% is based on votes and 60% is based on the judging panel. So it's a combination of online votes and judging panel. And the judging panel is comprised of leaders within the co-working community. And those spaces, you can definitely apply and submit those spaces to win. But if they are judges on the judging panel, they won't be qualified to win. So there's that little piece. And Iris, I don't mean to put you on the spot for this, but do you know who the judges are and what spaces?
I think we'll be announcing the judge panel as we get closer to the event itself. Okay. I'm still finalizing everybody that's on the panel, so I don't want to put anybody on the spot who hasn't committed quite yet. But I do want to mention that just for clarification purposes, that if you sit as a judge on the panel, you're only ineligible to win the award that your space or you are nominated for. Excuse me, let me say that again. If you sit as a judge on a panel, you're only the only award that you are not able to judge is the award that you're nominated in. And the only award that you're ineligible for would be an award that you were a judge on, if that makes sense. So for instance, we have, 8 or 9 categories. If Tony, if you were to sit on the judging panel and you were also nominated, you would just refrain from judging the award that you were nominated for.
Got it.
That's
yeah,
great.
I think that makes sense.
Especially because it doesn't then exclude some of the great spaces that are out there, right?
Right.
So now everybody participate.
Yeah. And then, the panel that we're putting together does consist of, veterans, names that people in the co-working world already know, as well as some names that people don't know. We want to make sure that we have a good variety of people, and wanted to bring some newcomers into this as well, or some less known names, just to make sure that it's really representational. And then the process is that we will be collecting nominations and votes right up until May 2nd, if you can believe it. And then the judges will gather in New York the day before the conference. And we will be making our determinations of the awards at that time. So that's going to be a fun night.
Super great. And then at the Juicy event itself, is there anything you can share with us about how you intend to present the winners of the awards?
Can we share that, Iris?
Well, we can say that there will be some lovely people who will be presenting these awards. Can we share who's doing it, Jenny, do you think? Are we allowed to do that?
Sure. I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. So our own Jenny Poon will be one of our MCs for the evening.
Well, it'll be me or Kay, and then paired with who is the other? Kay is our foundation director, and I don't want to keep this suspense, but it'll be a great night, and it'll be.
It's going to be a great night.
Okay, where and when is this event?
Off podcast for us.
We don't want to have the award ceremony right here, right now. We do want to build a little bit of suspense.
All right. So where is the event going to be happening during the conference? What day? What time? What location?
So the event will be happening during happy hour, and Liz will provide us with the details about the location as all of that is wrapped up. All
right. Super fun. Well, I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see it happen. I'm excited to see you guys at Juicy. I wanted to get actually just a little bit of background, and Jenny, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your experience with CO-HOOTS, and maybe if you could tell me like a little story of something that is an example of the kind of stories you'd love to see told in the course of these awards. If that's if you think that that's a clever enough segue, that because we've had so many great experience in these spaces, I know that CO-HOOTS it's gotten its own awards, it's gotten a great reputation. Can you just tell us a little bit about sort of how you got into CO-HOOTS, and maybe just a little bit of a story to share with us around that?
Yeah, sure. So CO-HOOTS is Phoenix's first co-working space, and we started in 2010 in the middle of the recession. And Phoenix is a very real estate friendly city, which meant in the middle of the recession, everybody was hurting. One of the hardest hit cities in the nation because we were so heavily dependent on real estate. And so in 2010, my background is in graphic design, and I started my own design agency. And, like most co-working space operators, felt that I needed a community around me and needed a space that was flexible and affordable and surrounded by great people. And that was kind of the key piece for me, is I needed to be surrounded by great people. And so the story goes that I found this amazing space, rallied a few people to join me in it. Turns out all of these people loved this idea of collaborating with each other and supporting each other, and truly believed that in the middle of this recession, if we could band together and help each other, we would all survive the recession. And that story kind of reverberated throughout the city as the little engine that could and the little startup that could. And we were really downtown Phoenix was a very struggling city at that time too. It was known as the ghost town. People came in and then left after 6, so nobody wanted to start up businesses there. And I fell in love with the city. I met some of the small business owners there, and just thought all of these people are fighting for the city to be a great big city, and we're 5th largest city in the nation. Why aren't we keeping up? And so kind of took it on to make that be one of the major values of our co-working spaces, to love, if you love business here, you love CO-HOOTS and you love the community or you love Phoenix, right? If you love business, you love Phoenix, because that is what we're branding. These are all people who are fighting for the success of this city, because the success of this city means it's the success of these businesses. Well, that's a lot of tongue twisters right there. So kind of took that on, and eventually we like grew it one by one. I mean, this is, I feel like, the underdog story of most co-working spaces. We grow slowly, and then like we catch our stride, and it becomes a really big, powerful thing. We're sitting at 250 members today, like consistently ranked best in the Valley. We're getting more and more spaces. I think what makes what has been a great story for us is that because we defined those as our values in the very beginning, that has actually allowed for a lot of great spaces to open here alongside us, and shown that like this is truly a collaborative community. We have a huge movement here that has sparked not just from our co-working space, but from the business community and the startup community that again mirrors those values of collaboration and generosity and helping each other. And that's our Yes Phoenix movement, which is like a hashtag that everyone in the city, as it relates to business, uses as like a united rallying cry for success for the businesses here. So I think like those kinds of things, like telling that story, not once did I really talk about the space. We have a great space, I swear. But it's really like the loyalty is built through this community and this culture of united culture and aligned culture between these different people, and not just within our space, but within our community. And so we get recognized a lot for that. Even though, if you come to our space, we're not a humongous space like a WeWork or those other big chains. We're sitting at a comfy 14,000 square feet, which can be pretty big too. And I think you see the impact of building community and recognition for all of the things that we've done. You see that in like the little things that whenever we run into a hurdle, our community rises to help us. So last year we purchased a building and ran a crowdfund campaign and was successful in our crowdfund campaign in hitting our goal and raising our funds. But I think to bring it back to the Coworky Awards, like I think like it's easy to win awards if you have a lot of people who are voting for you. That's easy. But when there's competition, what really sets you apart is like the loyalty of people, right? Like you can sit there and try to hack the system. You can sit there and beg everybody to vote for you. But the ones that will really win in this competition are going to be the ones that truly have the right following, right? That have a community behind them that has been seeing all of the great work that they're doing. And like us, I hope we get to see those communities that really have put a lot of effort into building a strong community that's giving back and supporting businesses and doing the things that are bigger than just having a physical space with desks in a room, and like great leadership that's going to guide people in the right direction when their community hits these hurdles, right? Like I think about the first time I got together with our great group of early leaders in the co-working world. Iris, you remember this, like out in California, I was invited, even though I just started CAHOOTS. Like I was probably the youngest and most scared person in that room because everybody had years of experience ahead of me, and there were no other co-working spaces in Phoenix. I had nobody else to look up to. And I remember sitting there being like scared out of my mind because you guys were amazing. And now I look out and I see all of these great concepts, right? And I remember sitting there and Susan from Office Nomads was like, I'm worried right now. Like, I don't know where my community is going. I'm struggling with these things. And then you look at them now and they're still as strong as ever because they're listening to their community and they're making changes and they're, walking the walk with walking their talk, right? And I want to see spaces like that succeed. And those stories, because they're hustling, they're doing what they do every day and trying to help their communities, their stories don't get told. Like the story of like, the little co-working space that is popping up in rural America that wants to spark innovation and a community in this area that doesn't have any other kind of economic success. I've talked to a lot of different groups who are trying to do something different, right? Like the Hera Hubs, who are focusing on supporting women and I mean, I know them because I've talked to them, but I want more of those kinds of stories that I haven't heard before, but I relate to because we've all struggled. You don't go into co-working to be a millionaire. You go into co-working because you really passionately believe in helping others and supporting and growing the city and the communities that you live in. And so, like, those stories, they don't have their own little PR firm, so we can be that for them. And I think these Coworky Awards will elevate their story, whether they're this little tiny one or this huge concept that really is doing great things. That's a lot of talking for me, so I'm gonna kind of. I hope that answers your question.
It answers my question and then some, Jenny, because you actually managed to do what I was hoping you would do, which is link the story of CO-HOOTS to the story of the awards and why, in general, it's so valuable and so important to really highlight the efforts of people who are doing things to really help to elevate their members, to elevate their neighborhoods and their communities. Because what we have here is something that is so much more than the workspace. And we talk a lot about the workspace and it's valuable, it's important, we got to get our business stuff together. But being able to take that and then do something really important and impactful with it, I think is the opportunity and the challenge and the mandate that we have as organizers in a world where there's a lot of folks who are making transitions, a lot of folks who are scared, a lot of folks who need help. And so the more that we can be in a position to, create great spaces to help people, the better. And the fact that you've set a great example with what you're doing in CO-HOOTS is tremendously inspiring and commendable. But now taking this to the next level with this award ceremony, I think if this can help to inspire other people who are running spaces or starting spaces to really see what it can be like when you're doing something that has just a more burning sense of higher purposefulness, I think that's hopefully going to, help to shift things for a bunch of other spaces out there in ways that might be hard for us to predict. So thank you to both of you for doing this work to help to kind of elevate our game a little bit.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah, you sure can.
So I think this also helps differentiate this hype that keeps coming up with WeWork and these larger spaces that are constantly looking for investment. I compare this a lot to this to the hyper focus on startup culture as being the focus of co-working spaces. And I think I guess what I'm saying is co-working spaces don't need to be these $1 billion invested companies to be successful, right? Let's change the measurement of what success looks like for co-working spaces, because it's so easy to fall into the trap of I need billions of dollars, and once I get those billions of dollars, I'll be a successful co-working space. This is the lean model versus big investment model, or getting investment before you're ready for it model. And I think it turns a lot of when we look around and we see, hey, the only successful spaces that are getting recognition are these spaces that are getting billions of dollars of investment and getting opening 5 bazillion locations. And why is that the healthy form of co-working spaces? It can be totally healthy and successful just being you in your own little city or in your own big city, but creating big impact. And that can also be enough, right? What are the goals that each of us are looking for? And it shouldn't, I think right now we see all of these big chain co-working spaces as being the successful goal that all of us are trying to reach. And really, is that really the way we want to be going with each of these spaces? And I hope that showing these stories of the impact that each of these spaces are having will help shift that concept that, hey, you can be essentially a quote unquote lifestyle co-working space and have your own specific niche. You don't have to conform or try to compete with these big guys because they have their own niche and there's space for everybody. And if you recognize there's benefits in, staying the way that you are or focusing on this group, you can still be just as happy and be just as successful. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Do you guys remember
It
Cool
does.
Runnings?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Do you remember the movie Cool Runnings?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The Jamaican bobsled team, and they're up against the I forget what country. There's like the Scandinavian guys who are always number one, and when the Jamaican guys tried to be more like them, they were all out of sync, and they weren't their usual merry selves. But like once they embraced who they were and their personality, like even though they didn't like get the gold, they were still champions, and everyone loved them. So, I feel the same way about the co-working spaces. It's not like there's only one gold medal to be had here. There's plenty of ways to be successful in building a great community, a great space. I just got off the phone earlier today with someone who's working on a space in Canada that's going to be a combination gluten-free kitchen, cafe, co-working space, living space, all in one historic building. And you know what? Awesome. Go for it. Do it. They're going to have a great time. I'm so excited for them. There's a lot of ways to build a great community these days.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to touch on that. And to me, I know we've talked about this quite a bit, but, I think there's a lot of conversations happening around the community table, as it were, about how we highlight in the age of mixed co-working, how do we make sure that those community co-working spaces stay afloat as well as stay relevant. And, that is, I mentioned in the beginning, wanting to highlight the stories of those little spaces. I mean, that is one of the drivers I know that pushes the three of us forward in our daily lives, is really the effect that co-working has had on us. And you don't get that in the big spaces, or the sexy New York Times articles on the big spaces. So I'm really excited to continue to tell the story of the little guy, and how the little guy is really actually having a deeper impact than, all the money that people want to chase out there. And I honestly think, just in terms of healing our world and coming to a better place in the age of globalism and, everything that we're dealing with in this country right now, and I know is happening across the world as well, if we can redefine what success means, we're going to take ourselves really far with that. Success does not necessarily mean that everything is big and shiny and expensive, and especially success in co-working. So, we're redefining every day what success means we're helping our members redefine every day what success means for them. And we want to make sure that we do the same for our operators and our communities.
That's beautiful, Iris. Iris, Jenny, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us here. I will be seeing you guys in New York in just about 5 weeks now. So I'm excited to see you in person.
Awesome.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Iris.
Thanks,
All
Jenny
right.
and Tony. See you soon.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us here at Juicy Radio. I hope you guys really enjoyed that talk, and I hope you guys are right now on coworkyawards.com, COWORKY awards.com. Throw in some submissions. If you run a space, share it up with your members so your members can offer some submissions. And one way or another, we're going to have a really neat award show happening at Juicy in New York City this coming May 5th through 7th. Grab your tickets now. It's going to be really great to have you guys in my old home city. So I am excited to have you there. I'm excited to be there. I'm excited to see all these wonderful people. And definitely check out all the details for that at usa.juicy.co. That's usa.gcuc.co. And it's always a pleasure to hang out, do this with you. Looking forward to doing some more episodes soon. Always love to hear your feedback. So shoot me a message, tony@nwc.co. And hope to see you in New York. Otherwise, I'll catch you at the next episode of Juicy Radio. Thanks a bunch and keep being awesome.